Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Quality is Remembered Long After the Price Tag is Forgotten. Now we're looking at the custom Micron, guys, and I know it's an expensive brush if you're looking for a detailed brush and you're sort of moving on. Not so much for the beginner, this is more for if you've been in sort of airbrushing for say a year or 2 years and you're looking at now buying a detailed brush. And you've got loads of brands to choose from. You could jump onto the Krios range, which is the 771 just here. You could jump onto Harder and Steenbeck and you could go for the Infinity. You could jump onto Badger because they do one, which is like their detailed brush. Rich Pen, if you can still get them, you can get a detailed brush through them. So there's a lot of brands out there that do detailed brushes. Now, I own a few. I've got the Infinity, I've got the Krios 771, and I've got some other IWATA ones which are detailed brushes. But I pulled the Micron into this review to give you a look at what I would say is the best detailed airbrush you can buy on the market still. This, I would say, wipes the floor with all the other ones that are out there, guys. I know it's probably the dearest price tag for a brush, but if you want quality, you need to put your hand in your pocket to get it. And these are expensive, but I guarantee you that this thing in this red box in front of you here will last, and it has lasted me. This is coming on, it must be 7 to 8 years now I've owned the custom Micron, and this was my go-to detail brush. It was permanently in my hand and I was permanently using it. Then I came across Krios, which was the 771. Now I've done reviews on the channel and I have said in them reviews that the 771 will match the Micron, and it is basically the front end of the 771 is basically a Micron. When you put them up together, they look identical. The 771 will get you down the details that the Micron will get down. But after putting the 771 down, which I've done, and picked the Micron back up, you don't realise how good the Micron is until you pick one up again. So I picked the Micron back up. This is some of the videos that are on the channel and some of my recent work that I've been like tinkering with for videos for you guys. I've been using the Micron again for the past week. Gave it a clean through. It's been on the shelf collecting dust, and I picked it up. First piece of artwork, and then you instantly know how good this brush is. If you've not picked one up and you can get a demo on one, pick one up, then come back to the channel and go, this guy knows what he's on about when it comes to a detailed airbrush, because they are incredible. They really are. I was always jumping onto the 771 and I've mastered the 771 and what it can do, what it likes, paint consistencies, and then moving back to the Micron is like, it's like jumping out of a cheap family saloon and then just jumping straight into a Ferrari. It really is. The trigger on these are incredible. The atomization is on point. The finesse of this brush when you use it, when it drops the paint down, is just outstanding, guys. It really is. So the brush we're looking at is the Cyan SB V2 version, which is a 0.18. It is a side feed airbrush, so if you've not used a side feed before, on the IWATAs you get a pin to the side, which is this one here. Then pins can be taken out and you get your cup that you put your paint in. Now you can put the cup to the right side or the left side, which is really handy, because if you're left or right handed you can move the cup to where you want it. Now because I'm a lefty, I put the cup to the left, and then you put the pin back into the opposite side, which blocks that little hole off the opposite side of the brush, and it gives you a little bit more clearance when you're painting. If you're left or right handed, you can move the cup to what side you want. The beauty of a side feed is as well, if you're working at a funny angle, you can position your cup so your paint flow is permanently sitting flat. So if you're working at a weird angle, you can move the cup to where you want. So that's a nice little bonus. Another good things with this brush that other brushes don't have is when you take your crown cap off a normal brush, you put it down and I guarantee it, you will lose it and you'll end up replacing it. With the Micron, there's a little bit at the back where you screw your crown cap to, so the crown cap can sit on the back of the brush while you're working and you don't lose it. It's screwed to the back and it's out of the way. So that's a nice little bonus with this. You can dial your trigger in with this brush as well, and the brush is quality, guys, when it comes to the engineering of it and the finish of it and just the features and how it moves and everything like that. The dial on the back is silky smooth. You've got numbers around there, so you dial this in and this will set your trigger distance. So if you turn that all the way in, it stops your trigger. If you move this out, you start to get a little bit of movement in your trigger and you can dial it in. So if you're going in on detail and you've got like a set sort of distance and line that you're creating, you can set your paint flow and it'll put that amount of paint out with the trigger adjuster here. Moving on to the trigger itself, it's very flat on the top, which I like because it's nice and comfortable. There's no raised ridges. The Infinitaire has a scallop trigger and it has the two raised edges, and when you're pressing down and working with that quite a while, you can leave an imprint on your finger. It's a bit of an uncomfortable trigger. The Micron's nice and flat, slightly slopes forward so your finger sits to the whole of the trigger, and when you move this trigger back, it is silky smooth, guys, and absolutely on point. You've only got to touch IWATA triggers and the paint flow is instant. Moving up to the front of the brush, you've got quite a bit of needle exposure at the front, which is nice. So when you get your tip dry, like you do in all airbrushes, you can give it a little clean off. So you've got a nice visible bit of needle there. Now the needles on these are 0.18mm, and the needles I have found in the Microns are very tough. I've not changed a needle in this brush, and I have dinked it into my work quite a few times on pieces of like board and things like that. I've gone really close and sort of dinked the needle and it's been absolutely fine. So the needles are strong in these. The other bits you get in the box are a filter which screws to the bottom. You get these in the box. These are really good because then you put your quick connect to the bottom of that. You can hook that up to your airline and you've got something to hold on to when you're painting, which is comfortable. It gives that little extra bit of body sort of feel down here. You've got your nice scallop here on the body, so when your fingers are on there, it's just really comfortable. So that's it for the brush. We'll hook it up to the airline and you'll see what this brush can do. Right, we're all set up. I've got some purple golden high flow acrylic in here. I've thinned it down, it's probably a little bit too thin, but we'll give it a go. I've dropped the crown cap to the back, which is a bonus for this brush. You can just screw it to the back, it's out of the way, you're not going to lose it. So we're running 22 to 23 psi. We can dial it in on the little Mac valve here. So we'll do some dots, because everybody does dots when they test airbrushes. So we'll work our way up to full trigger. And you can go from a pinhead dot with this brush up to that sort of size. I'll just go over that again. So you're getting really nice atomization. You will find with this brush the finesse, how it drops paint down, is incredible, guys. It really is. This paint is a little bit old, a little bit grainy. I'll just do another bit. A drop of paint. and there's some little dots there, guys. Now they are like sharp pencil point dots on there, and this trigger does this with absolute ease. It is the best trigger on an airbrush that I have ever tried, and I own quite a few airbrushes. The trigger response on a Micron is absolute precision, it really is. And getting like little dagger strokes and things like that with this brush is just, you just do it with ease. It makes your life of painting easier. It gives you confidence when you paint, picking up a brush like this, because you've got the trigger that moves nice, the responsiveness of the trigger with the paint coming out really nice. It atomizes the paint brilliantly. It's a quiet brush when you're painting. You can hardly hear the air, even though that's running 25. I could hook another brush up and it just sounds like a jet engine roaring out. So it's nice and quiet. And they just work. And that's what you want in a brush. That's what you want in a detailed brush, is to be able to pick it up, go in on a piece of artwork that's really detailed, and be able to put that paint where you want it on point every time. And these do it. They just do the job, guys. They really do. Yes, they've got the price tag. Do a little stick, man. But they're worth every penny. They really are. You'll be paying $365 for this brush. You could pick up an Infinity, which will chin your Infinity's what, 200, just over 200. This thing will eat an Infinity. Absolutely, hands down, wipe the floor with it. On trigger response, they'll last, I'd say they'd both last the same. I've got an Infinity which is a little bit older than this, and it's still going, but you're battling with an Infinity. You are battling with that trigger, because you've got to press down and you're pulling back and you're not getting any paint for a split second, and you've got to just balance that trigger till you find that paint, and that's where you've got to keep your finger at that sort of down, and then you can start moving back. With the Micron, it's, you are literally just moving that trigger a fraction, and that paint is there. It's instantly there, and that's what I really like about it. It's just on point, and that's how you want a detail brush. You want it to be on point. So the custom Micron, guys, recommended highly. It really is. If you're looking for a detail brush, they do other versions of the Micron. You can get one with like a top cup. I'd say go for the side. They do the Takumi Micron now as well. I've got the Takumi Eclipse, and that's incredible. So the Takumi Micron will be, you'll basically be looking at the same brush as this, but the Takumis come with a bigger cup. They say they've changed a few things with it, but if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it. I think this was the best IWATA that they've done. I really do. So that's the custom Micron, guys. I could sit with this brush for hours and paint, and you will when you're doing your photorealistic work. It's the brush to have. Detail work, any type of work really, this brush is good for it. It really is. They just get the job done. So that's the custom Micron. I hope you've enjoyed it. I could make this video last forever and a day talking about this brush. If you've got the money to get one, get one. You won't look back. You'll drop comments going, oh my god, that brush is absolutely incredible. And they are. They're incredible, guys. If you're opting for another detail brush at a little bit price bracket, a little bit lower, check out the Creo 771. You won't look back with that brush either. That is an outstanding brush for detail. It's not on point as much as this, as Trigger, but if you own a 771, they're incredible brushes, they really are. If you own an Infinity, I feel sorry for you, I really do, because they're just a nightmare. But that's my opinion after using one of these. You'll know. If you own an Infinity and you've brought one of these, you're then going to go, oh my god, that trigger is absolutely pants on an Infinity when you try one of these. So thanks for watching. Drop your comments, because I know there's going to be some after this, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.